Let's fucking roll.
Hey guys, super excited. We have SA Martinez on from band 311.
That's awesome. Yeah, they'll be in Atlanta on August 14th at the Coca-Cola Roxy at the Battery. So it's going to be an amazing show. So 311 will be playing with AWOLNation and Neon Trees. And these guys have just played, 3 decades of amazing music, from alternative rock to rock reggae to rock funk, whatever you want to call it. But it's going to be a great show. And we were really excited to work here with Live Music Junkiez and Gina Boykin, the Atlanta Queen of Music, and SaltyMF Enterprises, Salty's Live Music. So stay tuned for the interview and enjoy it. Peace.
Yeah.
Nail biter. Is this going to work? Is this going to work? So
we have a ton of questions. We were talking right before coming on about some of our questions and got like similar questions. So you've been doing music now for 3 decades.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was telling Brad, I thought about it, and the 90s is really when internet kind of started popping up. So I wanted to talk to you about all of the changes in technology with streaming and now with AI, how it's impacted you and the band and how you do your outreach to fans now across the world.
Right. Yes, it has just, you're right. It's flipped on its head since we started. The whole, where do you start insofar as so for me, I'm not on Spotify. Number one, I'm not on Spotify, but I am on Apple Music. So that's how I stream my music. But I'm only on Apple Music because I was on iTunes, right? When it was iTunes. And then I just saw no need to why am I going to pay for something else that's doing the same thing? So I never went to the Spotify camp and just never did that. So, but yes, it's a whole other world. I mean, I don't even know how bands, honestly, it's a miracle we're even doing it or even got traction to continue to do it. But, it's a whole other world now, right? With streaming but the thing about streaming is there is more access to music, I guess. And, I know when about 15 years ago, my wife and I had our first child. And so I was kind of stuck at home for a little bit. And I'm like, well, I guess I'll use this YouTube thing. So, I just started digging for music on YouTube as opposed to going to record stores, and so I was kind of getting into music that way. So that's another streaming device, right? It's just an exposure, I guess. There's just more of a plethora of chances, one could say, to get exposed to music. I grew up in, getting exposed to music mostly through record stores, but now it's you get, oh, you might like this, types of prompts or, what have you. So, it's changed. Culture is culture, right? And eras are eras, and they're always defined by what they embody. So we're just of the times, right? We're always of the times, no matter what time we happen to inhabit. So
that's
it's kind of like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So obviously, growing up kind of in the 80s and 90s, we were a little bit more social then and getting out and going to live music and venues. That was our release, right? That's what we wanted to do. I stole one of her questions. I was like, all right. Today, it's because my kids will even say oh yeah, I just listened to that on Spotify. I'm like, well, that band's coming to town. Why don't you go see them? That's the experience of it. So how is that just from I'm sure you still you're playing in front of a live audience. You guys obviously do that, but I think people are missing out on some of that by just even having access to any kind of music genre they want. I don't know what your feeling is on that. But.
Yeah. There again, it's a different era, right? We're inhabiting a different era, and now that is part of the equation. And yes, we will always adhere to our, sort of upbringing and coming of age. And yes, I'll agree. Like for me, it was like when the band moved to LA, we got exposed to these dope clubs, right? So we were going out to the clubs, and that was influencer culture. Back then, it was like the DJs were the influencers. You went to the club to hear what you now can hear at Whole Foods, basically. Piping in, right? Like it was, yeah. Like you hear like what was so hard to find and that you didn't even know existed. Honestly, it was the DJs who dug it all up, and we're still digging, right? So that was a cool moment in time because it was like coalesced and you felt part of something that no one knew about, right? And now it does feel like the culture is way more exposed, but it's also, you know, just because someone has like access to this dope band from the 70s, Indian immigrants that met in the UK, and then, you know, do they think it's good? You know, like in the club it was like amazing, but in a Whole Foods aisle for chips, you're like, it might not hit you as, you know, like that. So, you know, it's again, it's a different time, man. And like my girls, well, my oldest, she's into K-pop, or she kind of is still into K-pop. She's kind of phasing out of it a little bit, but she loves, like, those are her bangers, you know, this Korean music. And her and her homie are like, oh my God, they're like going off on this stuff. Like, whoa, it's a little much for me personally, but like, I'm like, they're enjoying it.
That's awesome. My poor kids didn't have a choice what they listen to. They're still listening to the Doors and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And it's funny.
Well,
so.
No, I did that when they were younger. Yeah. Like, you're listening to what daddy's going to listen to. And then it's like, bro, I have my own now.
Hey, it's that musician rebelliousness, man. Yeah, it's great.
Which is great. It's a generation gap. It's like, I don't know how you listen to that.
That's awesome.
I like K-pop a lot.
Yeah, she's a big
K-pop fan.
I just went to
my first
I tell you, I don't even know what K-pop is, so I'm just letting you know. You got a question?
Yes, absolutely. Biggest inspiration right now?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. So, yeah, I mean, you know, for me, rock music and things that really moved me, like, took a nosedive. Like, from, like, the 2000s on, I was like, wow, nothing is, like, speaking to me at all. And then about 5 years ago, my nephew, he turned me on to this band, Turnstile. I was like, so he sends me this record. I'm on a road trip actually at the time, and it was their second album, and I started listening to it. I'm driving like through the canyons of Wyoming, and I'm like, not now. This isn't what I'm feeling right now. So I put it on pause, and then a few months later, he hits me back. He's like, "Yo, have you heard the new Turnstile?" And I was like, we were about to go on tour, so I was like, no, I haven't. So all right, let me give this a listen. And it blew my mind, and it became just the album of that, you know, year. And but then it was like, you know, it was Turnstile, it was High Biz, it was Mannequin Pussy, who I just saw in Denver a few months back, and they blew my mind, like incredible. So there's like a new wave of rock that is like, you know, it's, to me, it feels like it's back now.
Yeah.
You know, like it went away, but now it's back in spades. Yeah.
So anyways, we'll ignore that. Someone was trying to get in, so we don't, if they're 15 minutes late, I don't know who it is. Sorry, band member out there. Show up at 12.
I think it was Grayson. I saw the chat.
We don't know who Grayson is.
He's our manager.
Oh.
One of our managers. Yeah.
Well,
he can stay off.
Yeah. He's out, dude. Come at 12 next time. We got something going on here. Anyways, we apologize that. So we were back talking about just the whole band experience, you know, with guitarists, drummers, whatever it may be. I saw music move away from that for a long time, and I think that's really beautiful to see a band like you guys. I was telling Gina, you know, one of your songs had almost 275 million downloads on Spotify.
Oh, wow.
over the life of it.
He would know that because he's
not
on
Spotify.
This is news to you.
Right? Oh my God, really? really?
That's amazing, though. I mean, that's absolutely the reach that you guys have had over, you know, the time period that you've played is just, I mean, it's amazing. So I'm going to get back on track. Grayson, you knocked us off track, dude.
That's okay.
I'll scold him. Don't worry about it.
So I wanted to talk about kind of the creation process. All of you all are busy. You know, you have your own families. You're in different locations. How do you get together? How does that process work? And planning a new song, creating it.
Right. It takes on many guises, right? You know, we're all spread out anymore, and it's honestly it's hard to like carve time to like even just to get together and put an idea together. It's amazing it happens. Well, we've been working with, you know, various, you know, writers outside the band too, and you know, and that's been a thing now for a few years. So, you know, it's good to get creative, to get outside sort of the bubble, so to speak, and you know, and to kind of like, because here's the thing, the 311 ecosystem has like birthed like so many amazing fans who happen to be dope producers, dope musicians. And it's great to get like that infusion. And in fact, I have a few side projects that I started with a couple of like 311 heads that they're now my homies, and like, and now we make music together.
That's awesome.
You know, so, and in fact, like one of the new songs on the record, my nephew and I, who have a project together, we worked on it, and it's going to be on the new 311. But yeah, I mean, so there's that aspect of it, you know, getting, you know, like a new freshness to the band that is instilled with the 311 spirit, and then getting the 5 OGs together, like getting that, like, you know, figured out, putting those songs together. I mean, it's a combination anymore. So, because like, again, time is like a restraint, and we don't have the freedom like we did back in the early, you look back in the early days, like, God, that was so nice. No responsibility. Just the man. Just the man. It's like, worry about you. You worry about me. That's it. No dog. Yeah.
That's right. That whole having a kids changes the whole scenario.
Bro, like family. Look, you know, we all love our families, right? And that's part of the life, right? It's part of the life arc. You know, you grow and you mature, etc. But like, you know, the early days, like that was of another time, but it was also like just a great time, you know, and it's great to reflect on all those times. And we've had so many like amazing times together as a band. Like, yeah, we are, you know, we're not blood, but we basically are, and we're brothers, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's a family at this point, and we can finish each other's thoughts, all that.
Oh,
That's awesome. Well, I was reading up on just some back stuff on you. And I was reading something about, I guess you guys were going on tour and you were kind of funding your own tour. It must have been in the early 90s. But you had borrowed somebody's Volkswagen and you were pulling an RV and it caught on fire or something and burned equipment. I didn't know. So, I mean.
Yeah, that was a fun day.
I just, like, to me, that just was like such a college thing. I'm like, that's awesome. I mean, that's
yeah, no, it's, you get thrown obstacles in life, man. And that was like early on, it was like a one to the chin. And we ended up playing the next day, you know, on gear. We were headed to a gig in KC, I believe. That one got canceled. And then Omaha was the day after. So we made that gig and we were able to, like, you know, use gear there. But yeah, man, it was like, yeah, it's part of the story.
I love it. The show must go on. I love
Show
it.
must go on. Show must go
That's
on.
awesome.
Yeah, speaking of shows, I know you've played at a ton of arenas and amphitheaters and festivals. What were some of your absolute favorites? And is there anything left on the list, on the bucket list of places to perform?
Right. Yeah. I mean, we've done so much, but there's still more to do. I mean, you know, we just went back to Europe for the first time this past, few weeks back. We hadn't been there in like 20 years. So that was great to kind of reintroduce the band to, you know, those audiences, and the excitement was like, it was off the charts, man. It was so dope. So just to go back, you know, to go back there and sort of, stoke the fire some more. We might be going to Australia later this year. And we hadn't been there again. It's been like since I think early 2000s. Those are all great places. I will say though, you could say Atlanta was ground zero for 311 in many ways. It was the first major market to sell out. Like we got word, on the road on a payphone, like, wait, what?
Yeah.
It's sold out?
That's awesome. That's great.
And we were like, oh my God. We've always felt like Atlanta was like a home away from home, over the years. And we've always been treated just so well there. I mean, the fans have always been so gracious, so loving and supportive. And it's always been like a special place for us to hit when the tour is like happening. And we don't get to Atlanta every time. You know how it is, like with shows, like, you go to a market and then you let it, kind of let it recuperate, whatever. But so it's going to be great to get back to Atlanta.
Yeah.
We're excited.
So the Unity tour, I mean, let's do a plug right here. We'll do a plug on the end as well. But so August 14 at the Coca-Cola Roxy, right? It's at the
It's at the Roxy. With AWOLNation.
Right. But it's at the Battery. So I don't know if you've been to the Battery, but it's pretty neat. I don't know how long you've been back, but that should be a really awesome like venue for the fans.
The iconic venues for me are the Tabernacle, and then Lakewood, which is not Lakewood, right? Or what's it called?
I think it's the Lakewood Amphitheater.
Is it? Okay. Yeah. Okay. It might still be called that. I know it's sometimes that you'd get there and like, I swear it was called Lakewood.
The other amphitheater than
Big money sees an opportunity.
Big money's always changing the name.
Yeah, they throw a bank's name on it.
Yeah.
That's a bank's name.
For sure.
Yeah, that's great. So have you guys played with AWOLNation? So have they toured with you before, and then also the Neon Trees?
Yeah, we did a little run last year. Was it with AWOL? It was a brief one, and then we decided to do that again and in a more extensive run. And then Neon Trees. No, we hadn't played with Neon Trees before, but it's been great, man. They're both killer bands. Yeah, it's cool. It's like a little mini fest, kind of like running around.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be great. I mean, I was telling I've got kids from 18 up to 33, but I was telling them that y'all were going to be together. They're like, "Oh, Dad, we're going. We're all going together." So you might get 20 of the McBastards crew there, definitely. So
right on. More the merrier.
Yeah.
I have another question. With so many albums, how do you come up with a set list?
Oh yeah, now that's tricky. You have to, it runs through so many scenarios, but, typically, you want to play songs that people know. And we have a lot of hardcore fans who come to multiple shows that are like, they want the deep cuts, right? And so we try to service both, fan bases, because every show you're playing to people who have never seen you before, right? Yeah. So it's always good to play the songs that people might know. And, but, we try to like find songs in the catalog that'll work. And, we have production, so we want to make sure like there's some scenery behind the songs. Yeah. It's been plugged in for that particular song or whatever. So, it is a group effort, because you're working with, again, like a lighting designer right on tour. And then, you're trying to like please a fan base that, wants to hear everything. Right. Yeah. So you try to touch on all the eras. It can be tricky. Sometimes it's like it writes itself, and sometimes we're just sitting there. Oh my God.
It depends where you are. Be careful. They'll be asking you to play Freebird. So
for sure.
That's awesome. Well, we're excited for you guys to come back. I mean, like I said, I grew up in that era where you guys had started. So when I told my kids that we were having you guys on, I mean, they got really, they're like, "Oh yeah, we know 311. What are you talking about, Dad? What are you?" And I'm like, so,
Dad's band.
Yeah. So they're like psyched. So it's amazing. It's amazing the different generations that you guys have. I think that's really cool. I think that kind of shows what a good artist is. When you can have someone like an old guy like me, or you can have someone that's 15 or 14, you guys are doing an amazing job still. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's a testament to the music, but it's like there's models out there for us too. Look at the Rolling Stones. They're like they're still doing shows, and that audience runs the gamut demographically. So I mean, it's that's the power of music, man. Like we all get inspired by it. We all fall in love with it, and it's a matter of time. If you build something, they will come, right? So
that's awesome.
And you all are inspiration to a lot of up and coming emerging artists. And they've asked me to ask you a question, which is, I guess, just some words of advice. I've been doing this for so long. People who are just starting out in Atlanta, I get a lot of questions about that. Getting started, what to do, keep going.
I mean, honestly, it's like for us back in the early days, it was like play whenever, wherever, right? Like, so any gig was an opportunity, and and you can't, it's not every gig is going to be a great gig. You're not going to like have sellouts everywhere you go, and sometimes there might not be anyone there. So every chance to play in front of whoever is just an opportunity to get better, and just to experience what it's like to be a musician, especially one who's traveling. I mean, it's, I'm not going to say I'm not going to recommend it, but you have to have a certain mentality, right? Like it's as in any profession, it's like there is a mindset, right? When you embark on a tour, it's like you're putting on another costume, so to speak. So, you have to be able to weather like just some, the inconveniences of life, right? And then also for me, it's like there's a far grander picture of life, and there is far more struggle and strife in a grander scheme of life. And, again, you're very fortunate to be able to do what you do, follow your passion, and there might be bumps in the road, what have you. So be it. That's life. So if anyone's, anyone who has like fire burning and they really want to achieve something, you just got to follow that, man. You just got to follow that and keep following it, and don't let nothing stop you.
I mean, we're really grateful that you spent some time with us, and we're excited to see you here in Atlanta, and we'll be there on August 14th at the Roxy. And anything we can do for you locally or whatever. I know you guys are well known, but we're really trying to help local artists and connect them with people like yourself that are professionals and have been through the mills, been through that audience where there were 3 people there, and then been to an audience where there may be hundreds of thousands or 20,000 or whatever it may be. And it's awesome for them to see and hear and get wisdom and advice from people like yourself. And that's we're grateful for you to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Again, like music, it's a building process, especially like a touring act. It's like I don't know, I've heard it a few times. It's like the slog is like a 10-year, slog, like for bands just to get anywhere. It's like almost like a decade. So anyone starting out, kind of expect that. Like it's a journey, and you just got to be, ready for it, and again, expect everything and anything, But yeah, it's also a great thing, man, because you get to share what you do with people, and everyone needs that in life, man. Everyone needs something to kind of aid, them in moments of like, turmoil or joy, right? Yeah. Like music also is an enhancer, enhances moods, and as well as an uplift. So yeah, if you're gifted, man, keep doing it,
Yeah, it's music's so unifying. I just read an article, they did like a 60 years on the Grateful Dead from, the time they met and whatever. And we're talking about just kind of the Deadheads. And you were saying the 311 head, that whole community and like experience, you can go on forever if you can create that kind of unity and unifying effect in music. I mean, your music will live on forever. So I thought that
right.
was really
cool. That is interesting that you brought that up, because you have what we do, but you also have a community, right? There is like this big, expansive community within, the music of what the band does, and other bands have their communities too. But, I do know of the 311 community, and I know what it means for these people. And I didn't for a long time, right? Because we are so ensconced in, what we do. Like sometimes you can't get out of it and see, a view of like what has come in the wake of it. So, meeting people and what the community means to them. People go to the shows just to be around fellow fans, not just because of the band or the music, because so-and-so might be there, blah, 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 what have you. And it's a support group. And, for a long time, I was kind of blind to it, and I didn't know like how important it was for the fans to have that, so that was something I was like, that was extra, right? It was like something that came, in the creation of it all. So super cool.
That's awesome. I know you've got a good fan base. I mean, obviously it's just, I'm amazed. I really am amazed when I see people that have done something for so long and really are still in it and creating good things. Cause I know burnout. I mean, I've been in business and stuff where I'm like, 10 years is a long time, to tell people a slog or starting a business. You got to take 5 years before you think you're going to make any money. And that dedication and that kind of commitment to it is honorable in any trade, but music, at least you get a lot of fun out of it. So
yeah. But you did touch on something there. Burnout is pervasive in the business, right? And it's also important to like take time out and regroup, collect your thoughts and, just to get some time away from it all, because it's a grind, and, it is a drum that keeps beating. So it's important to like have moments and space away from it to, to regroup and revitalize. Yeah.
Well, your wisdom's coming for the new generation. I don't know anything about this K-pop stuff, but I'll look in.
I'm telling you.
I'll probably get ostracized by my kids. You don't know what K-pop is, Dad? You're old, but anyways.
I'll show you some videos from
That's
from
awesome.
this week.
No, don't. My mind can't take it.
Yeah.
There
are some K-pop bangers. There are some bangers.
No, I just want to say again, thanks so much for coming on, and I'm so excited, counting down for the show.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see the story.
Gina is a whirlwind of just, magic and happiness and music. So
I'm a front row dancer, so if you see
oh
me,
hell
you
yeah,
want to see me.
Well,
Anyway.
I can't thank you enough for your time. I know you guys are busy. The Unity tour, everybody check it out. Go to 311.com. You can see where they're touring, but they'll be here in Atlanta on the 14th at the Roxy. And, it's going to be a great show with AWOLNation and Neon Trees. And we'll see you there, my friend. We really appreciate you.